nursing her wounds. Louis R. Avallone is the Caddo Parish Republican Party chairman. Hey, Mr. Lewis, how are you this morning?
I'm fantastic. Good Friday morning to you.
I'm looking at a Louis R. Avallone post, and it says, in reference to the Rod Demery endorsement of Leo Savage for Shreveport mayor, it says, "This is a huge step forward for Shreveport." Tell us why you think this is a big deal.
Well, I think it gives credence to the feeling that everyone has in their gut that Shreveport may, in fact, be ready for a cataclysmic shift in leadership from the old style, it's who you know and not what you know style of government. And I think it also speaks to the fact that the African-American vote in Shreveport is as diverse as any other demographic, despite the conventional wisdom that it is instead very monolithic.
Well, pardon me, Louis, let me start with the conventional wisdom. Demery, despite being a black guy, is in fact a Republican. If that's the case, how much effect, you pay attention to stuff like this, it is what you do. How much effect in the African-American community do you think that the Demery endorsement of Savage is going to have?
I think it has a significant effect. I think the fact that Demery is willing to step outside and endorse a Republican candidate, not to mention the fact how rare it is for him as an African-American to be a Republican. And I've spent a lot of time talking with Rod, and he is as conservative as any conservative. He's very well versed in history of this country, what made this country great. And so I think that it does signal to a lot of folks that maybe Shreveport is ready for a different type of leadership, that it doesn't have to be the same way that it has been before. I mean, why is it okay, for example, that other groups maintain a diverse political viewpoint? I mean, whether they're Asians or Latinos or Jewish Americans, but yet when folks think about African Americans, they think they all vote alike. And I think Rod Demery's endorsement today certainly signals that those days, if that has in fact been the case in Shreveport, those days may be soon coming to an end.
We had yesterday morning, Aaron and me, we had Dr. Jeff Sato from LSUS on. Dr. Jeff is certainly no liberal. And yet he said that in his opinion, in the fall election, the general election in December after the primary, he said that in his mind, it would probably be two Democrats in the general election. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, of course, I disagree to the greatest extent that I could. There are a lot of days between now and November when folks will go to the polls. And I think, if anything, Demery's endorsement today indicates that folks are thinking outside of the box. And the Republican Party welcomes diverse views, and a healthy, throw up your hands in the air debate of ideas and solutions for our community. So I think it's premature to predict exactly who's going to be in the runoff, or that it's going to be, one party in the runoff and not any from the other party. But I think more importantly, again, I think it's that folks are not looking at party, but are looking at solutions. And I think that's what Rod's endorsement today really signals to the rest of the community.
You would know this way more about this than would I. From a strategic point of view, was this the best time for the Demery endorsement, right around qualification time? And if so, why?
Well, I think that's a matter of opinion. I think it's 6 one way, half a dozen another. Obviously, a lot of folks are out of town on vacation right now. But at the same time, I think you and Matt hit upon it earlier in the morning. Folks are talking about the mayoral race. This is qualifying week. Today is the final day of qualifying for that race. So, it certainly, I think, is reasonable to make the decision to make that endorsement today. And other folks may say, no, like you had mentioned, maybe you go a little bit further into the campaign before you set that out. But I think what it also shows is that folks are anxious for change. Folks are anxious for solutions, and they're not wanting to wait. Yes, November seems like a very long time away. In actuality, it's not. But at the same time, I think it does show a sense of anxiousness on the people in Shreveport and the community's desire to get on with it and let go of the past. Again, the past of, the style of leadership of it's who you know and not what you know. And I think that both of the Republican candidates in this race represent a style of leadership that it's what you know, not who you know, that is going to lead Shreveport into the future.
Well, one more final question certainly. About sort of an extension of what you just said. This was told to me some time back, and you had made reference to what you see as a potential cataclysmic shift in the way that Shreveporters vote. Specifically, I'm inferring the African-American community. A while back, an African-American elected leader said to me, and I promised anonymity, and basically the quote was, if black unemployment ever gets below 8%, then Donald Trump will win re-election in a landslide. It's close to that, if not better than that. Do you think that the unemployment numbers, do you think employment in the minority community, given the economic philosophies of the Trump presidency, do you think that will have an effect on this mayoral race?
I think it does, and I think it goes to the question that was asked during the 2016 election to the African-American community. What do you have to lose by doing something different than you've done? In other words, by voting for someone other than a Democrat. Because voting for Democrats year after year certainly has not led to the type of prosperity. I mean, during the Obama administration, unemployment within the black community was twice what it was among the white community. So, I think that is going to play a very significant role, and I think African Americans in Shreveport may, in fact, look at this endorsement today and say, what do we have to lose by trying to vote or by voting for someone other than a Democrat?